What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to the 8th episode of Koikimo. This one's titled The Person I Love Is... ... Whose perspective is that from? Because we've got four options here. Is Ichika going to say it? Is Ryo going to say it? I mean, it doesn't matter if Rose says it, because we already know exactly what his thing is. Is Ariete going to be able to say it? Or is... how do I say his name? It's not Tamara. It's Tamaru. Yes, I switched the U and the A around in his name. I always think it's Tamara, but it's Tamaru. I'm terrible with his name. Yeah, I don't think... Well, he could say it. He was the only one last time who didn't really seem to have any thoughts on Valentine's Day. At least not in the way that everyone else did. Ryo was obviously pestering Ichika every single day with a countdown. Excessive much, but... You know, he's excited. I think this might be the first time he's genuinely being excited for Valentine's Day since his past with it, and apparently the chocolate incident, and the hair in the chocolate, which I think someone in the comments said that was shown in another anime. I think it was even like maybe Kaguya-sama? Was that what they said? I can't remember. But I know I've definitely seen it in anime before at some point, as a step too obsessive when it comes to that sort of thing. So we know he's been excited for it. Ichika is genuinely considering what to give him, but only him. Hasn't even considered Tamara at all in all this. Or is it Tamaru? God damn it, I'm terrible. I'm terrible. Tamaru. Tamaru. I need to get it in my head. But she isn't really even considering him at all in this. And I think that's kind of interesting to see because they have had their moments together, and it's clear he likes her. But she doesn't really seem to have the same level of attention to him that he has to her. And I think that's kind of telling just how the story's going so far, and where her mind is kind of set up for Ryo. As much as people say, oh, the only reason she's thinking this is because he's grooming her, and it's like, okay, sure. Of course, she's not allowed to make her own decision. It has to be because the guy forced her, right? You can't let her have her own conclusion as to what she thinks. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to become a whole thing. It was a thing ever since the show began. Same with Higehiro. Any show that deals with an age gap, especially one like this, where you have a high schooler and adults mingling for whatever reason, even if it is of non-romantic interest, such as Higehiro, there's still that discussion. But that was more when Higehiro was first starting. Now I think people kind of understand what's going on right now, and they've kind of shut up about that one. But this one they still do, even though this is more comedy focused than actually seriously considering what a relationship between these two would implicate. But yeah, we then have Ariete, who has gone the traditional route with the chocolates, not knowing Ryo's past with them, which I don't think is going to be a problem. You can see where there might be a bit of a problem with that, but I think Ryo he's respectful enough that he'll appreciate the gesture, but see it just as that, really. I don't think he's going to think too much of it, and it will be interesting to see how he reacts to that when Ariete gives him the chocolate, because it'll be interesting to see how he is around another woman that's approaching him, because we've seen snippets of that, I suppose, in previous episodes. I think, earlier on, we saw him with other women and how he treated them versus how he treated Ichika. But nothing more recent, and nothing, as outward as, hey, I got you Valentine's chocolate, which is usually quite a big implication. And I wonder if Valentine's is actually a bigger thing in Japan than it is the Western world at this point. I think it's a pretty big thing both sides. I know White Day, which is the opposite of Valentine's, where instead of the girl giving the guy something, the guy is then meant to give the girl something, right? I think in the West, it's more expected that the guy approaches the girl on Valentine's Day, whereas I think in Japan, it's more likely for the girls to give something on Valentine's Day, and then the boys return the favor on White Day. Am I remembering that correctly? A bunch of shows have dealt with Valentine's and White Day, I think it's called. I might be misremembering that name as well, but I think that was the implication. So maybe that's where it differs, because we don't have a White Day, so to speak. We have Valentine's Day, and then that's it. That's our love holiday essentially over. So, yeah, just kind of interesting to think about. But yeah, I'm curious to see what they do with this. The person I love is. I mean, the only one that has a choice here and has a sense of ambiguity, even though I don't think it is Ichika. She's the only one that has a potential could deviate, and even then, I don't think she would, because I don't think she sees. I don't think she sees him as a potential candidate alongside Ryo. I genuinely don't think she sees him in that way. So I think Tamaru is kind of out of luck here. Too little, too late, maybe, because he did. He took his time approaching her, and he might lose out because he waited too long. I think that might be where they go with that. Or none of them are going to end up with anyone. That seems very likely because it's a Japanese romance show. No one normally ends up together in a Japanese romance show. It's always just implied, and then nothing happens. But maybe the show will break that trend a little bit with this episode. So I'm excited because this could go so many ways, and I'm very excited to see. But I guess we'll get into it. So, as per usual, these are time-based format reactions here on YouTube. If you want to see the full picture-in-picture, you can go to my Patreon down in the description below. £4 a month gets you access to all Patreon and picture reactions I do on the channel, which is everything from the current seasonal lineup, as well as Patreon request shows Log Horizon Season 2, World Trigger, and Symphogear G. We also have movie reactions, with this Saturday being Kiki's Delivery Service. That will be our monthly movie, as voted on by patrons. So stay tuned for next month's Patreon poll, which will be going through on the 1st through the 7th of the month. But here on YouTube, we do timer-based, so bottom left of the screen, you'll see a time for the episode. Countdown 3 to 1 play. On play, you start the episode, I start the episode, and we should be in sync. We are watching this one on Crunchyroll, as per usual, since they're the ones who licensed it. No logos or anything. It looks like we're looking at someone's bedroom. I don't know whose. Judging by the fact it's anime figures and sports trophies, I'm going to guess it's Tamaru, probably. If I got his name right, I forget. Kai. Why don't I just call him Kai? It would be much easier. Anyway, I'm going to assume it's his room, judging by the fact that we have the mix there, but I guess we'll see. But you can use screen flash on my face, the mic, or this part of my headset to tell when the scenes are transitioning. That should be synced up as well. So, with all that said, let's get into this week's episode, shall we? In 3, 2, 1, play. It is, yes. It's Valentine's Day. Alright, he looking at things, okay. A lot of art will come out. Got the chocolates, got the chocolates. Yeah, I think it would. OP time. Super catchy OP. God, it's so catchy. Alright. The person I love is... Who's it gonna be? Uh... It's like a puppy waiting for his owner to come home. Uh, yes. I mean, quite the analogy. Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. He's expecting to be given something. Yeah. Yeah, immediately thinks chocolate. Yeah, no chocolate for you. A hug, okay. Okay. So embarrassed to do that. How does Ro actually think about that? Oh my god. Half right. What a sight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Hey, BFF chocolate, obviously. What? Oh, he's getting ideas now. It's gonna be some. It's not gonna be what he thinks. I don't think. What's it gonna be? Yeah, he's giving him chocolates. Okay. Mm-hmm. Simple as that. Wow, okay. He actually outright said it. Is she gonna backpedal? Yep. Backpedal a little bit. Never looked at you that way. Hmm. Hmm. He's trying. First time he's got her flustered. Hmm. Now we do have a question for her. How's she going to respond to this? I've never seen someone stare so angrily and thoughtfully at a sandwich. Hmm. Interesting. I mean, he would be if he didn't say no, probably. Oh boy. Yep. What a fake laugh. I think if you can find some time alone with him outside. Well, okay. Okay. Jesus Christ. Wow. That is true. If you can find some time to be alone with him after work, he'll accept it. Mm-hmm. Busy life does that to you. And this is where you run into him. Yep. Who else can it be? Oof. Oof. But here he is. There we go. Hmm. But he accepts it, of course. But a completely different reaction to when you got something from Ichika. Oh, what are you thinking here, girl? What are you thinking? It's a good question. What should you do? Yes, I'm sure you did. boy. Oh boy. Uh, no. More likely. So why could it be raining during a scene like this, doesn't it? Mm-hmm. Best friend would always notice. Mm-hmm. Avoiding the question. Seems likely. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hmm. Where are you going with this? It's an interesting take. I think there might be a sense of that. There might be a sense of that in her. I don't think it's really your place to call her out on it, though. Well, I don't think that's necessarily true. It is. But you're best friends. You worry about each other. Good friends don't just wait for you to ask for help, though. Good friends are pushy. Mm-hmm. I think you'll be in a losing fight, though. I've got a feeling that she might even have a thing for him in a weird way. Just some of the shot choices. I almost feel like she might have a thing for him or might have a jealousy of having attention like that. Ends up calling him, though. Oh no, just started blanking out mid conversation. She doesn't know what to do. Probably a good person. I think he is. You see each other very often. Mm-hmm. Okay. Or is it because you're already thinking of someone else in that role? Mm-hmm. Not that she'd want to ever admit that one, though. But I think she kind of knows it. Right. You could say that. I wonder about that. But doesn't want to know. He's not wrong, but you're pushing too far. Hmm. No. Hmm. Blew up in his face a little bit there. Yeah. Because it's the way he is. It's also that, but yes. Hmm. That is true. It definitely is a problem you need to figure out yourself. Come to understanding. You're actually smiling. Now get your hand off me. You may remove your hand. Yes. Dumbass. Mm-hmm. I don't think he doesn't care about others. But mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. Seems to reciprocate that honesty to him. Even if it is going to be a no. Well, that was an interesting episode. It was a very interesting episode, actually. There are multiple ways you can kind of take it as well, which is interesting. I think the hashtag team grooming, as I probably refer to them, they probably got a lot of ammo out of this one, to be fair. Alright, we'll get next episode title here. My answer. Oh boy. Guess we're gonna approach him and give him the answer of, well, it's complicated, basically. That was an interesting one. That was an interesting one in terms of how far they actually went with that. I kind of expected them to be a bit more patient with going that direction already. Yeah, it's all a matter of circumstance, right? So, if Rio was just her age, but still had the exact same character traits that he had, would Ichika's position be different? That's the question you kind of need to consider in your own head. If Rio was still the rich kid, flashy, pushy, and things like that, but he was the same age as her, would that actually change how she'd feel about him versus Tamaru, for example? Because I am not 100% certain that she would change. I think it would still play out the exact same. Tamaru would be too late to her, that Rio had taken so much time and had already started to get along with her that you would always be playing second fiddle. I almost wonder about Rio as well. I feel like Rio has a sense of jealousy. Maybe not of Ichika having relationships like that, but maybe... I don't know why. For some reason, I got a vague sense that Rio might like Tamaru in her own way. I don't know. There's really not anything more to go on just than some of the shot choices, but I feel like they could maybe try and intermingle that into it, but I don't think that's honestly the case. I don't think so. I think Rio is just... she's the type that's almost living vicariously through Ichika in a sense. But I don't know. I feel like Tamaru was a little out of line with what he said to Rio. Like, he may have a point, but he's a little out of line saying it to her face like that, I think. Because best friends worry about each other. They do. And if you just sit and wait for them to turn to you for help, it could be too late. Like, that's the problem. Like, when you're dealing with a problem yourself, especially one that feels like the weight of the world is on you, which, when you're at this age, romance feels like that. You feel like, oh god, every single choice or anything I make will severely impact the rest of my life forever. And part of growing up is realizing some of these choices really are not as important as they seem. Like, they really aren't, and it's not the end of the world. And getting over that is part of growing up. Like, I could look on myself from, let's say... how old would I have been? Let's say... how old would I have been, actually? Let's make this accurate. About 14, 15? Around about that age? A lot of the things I was worrying about back then, completely irrelevant. Like, so irrelevant. Like, they don't even matter. Like, I could change them and go any which way with some of the choices I made and some of the things I felt. Wouldn't have made a difference. I'd still probably end up in the exact same spot I am now. Nothing realistically would change based on that, and nothing really bad ever came of any of the things that happened. Nothing fantastic came of the things that happened. They just happened. And yeah, I think so many issues just seem so overinflated in your head because they're happening to you. And you feel like you kind of forget that there are 7 billion other people on this planet. A good few thousand are probably experiencing the exact same thing that you are right this second. When you're worried about your love troubles, there's thousands upon thousands of others going through the exact same thing. And when you have a best friend like Rio does, Rio is obviously very supportive of her brother, and that's just the strong bond they have together, which is nice to see. It's nice to see a family bond like that. And especially in anime where a family bond doesn't necessarily translate into potential incest storylines, because that is very often the case when it comes to older brother, younger sister. There's always a sense of that in the relationship, especially when it comes to romance shows. Almost like the potential harem route, as it were, with the little sister. So it's nice to see one where she just respects her brother and all he's done, and is supportive of him in this weird new phase of his life. But you can't just wait for your friend to turn to you for help, because it will be too late by the time you just wait for that. So, as a best friend, you will pry. And sometimes you will pry too close, you'll have an argument, and then you'll make up later. That's what happens to best friends. Best friends have more arguments than any other friends. Best friends will have so many arguments over the course of your friendship. That's why you're such good friends, because you argue about so much. Like, not to the point where it's like every day is an argument. If your friendship's like that, it's a bit of a toxic friendship. What I'm saying is when you have these arguments that relate to things that are going on in your lives, disagreements, things like that, you learn and get to know each other so much better that you become closer friends through it. And part of that is being pushy. And I feel like, in general, this show really is starting to explore the idea of how pushy is too pushy. With Ryo and Ichika in terms of their romance, with Ryo and Ichika in terms of their friendship, things like that. Like, I feel like that's a major component of the show, is how pushy can you be without it being unreasonable? And for Ryo, he's just kind of regressed into well, he didn't really have his high school first love phase, as it were. Like, that phase didn't really hit him. He's experiencing it now at the age of 27, which is something that honestly does happen. And it just kind of skips his mind about the way he's approaching it. But again, if he did this exact same approach, if he was of age, like the same age as Ichika, in the same school, and did the exact same things that he did, but he's just the rich kid as opposed to the 27-year-old businessman, I do wonder how Ichika's reactions would be different, if at all, because I don't believe they would. It's honestly very, very interesting to think about. Like, very, very interesting to think about. And Tamaru... I don't know with him. I don't know. I personally don't really like him too much. Like, he's a decent enough kid. I don't really care for him, though. Obviously, we haven't had nearly as much time with him, which is probably the main factor in that. But even then, I don't know. And Ichika even said it. She's sure that Tamaru would probably be better for her, but that's not how love works. You don't always find the best person for you at any one point, and just because they're the better option doesn't mean you should always pick that option. You've got to go with what you genuinely feel. You can't betray your feelings just to go with someone who you think is better for you, because that's how you end up with like these weird arranged marriages and stuff. It's like, oh, it's better if I marry someone of higher status just for my family's sake, and then you're completely taking yourself out of the equation. It's like, well, now you're just going to end up unhappy. But she's going to work it through her own head, and it looks like next episode might be at least giving Tamaru the answer. Whether she can come up with an answer for Ryo as well, I don't know. But you can just tell in just generally how she approaches Tamaru and Ryo up until that point, how Tamaru wasn't really on her radar, and now this has shaken her, because she's like, this, I guess this could be a thing, huh? And now she's like contemplating how it feels, but even through all that, I don't think she'll side with Tamaru. She might not even side with Ryo, and it might just end up with Ichika not going with anybody. But I don't think she'll go with Tamaru. Yeah. Even if Ryo and Ichika don't end up together, which I think is more likely just because Japanese romance shows always do this. I don't think she'll end up with Tamaru either way, just because he's not a main character, basically. I feel like a main character, then romancing a side character doesn't typically happen. It should, because it absolutely does. And I want it to happen in certain shows, like Tomazaki. I want Kikuchi and Tomazaki to get together. I think they would work out pretty well together if they're just honest with each other, so... But yeah. I'm curious to see which way we go with this, because we're making some good progress, and it is a very interesting episode to watch. So anyway, that's going to do it for you guys. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed that one as per usual. Leave a like if you did, as well as your comments for the episode. Don't forget to subscribe as well to see next week's episode, as well as the rest of the Spring 2021 line you can find here on the channel. Thank you for watching. Till next time. See you guys later.